Well, my talk today is called Healing is Revealing. That's a common term you'll hear in our classes in the Science, Mind, and Spirit that we start here in another month or so. And what we mean by that is healing is revealing the truth. Now, if it's a physical healing, when we're doing a spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer around healing for physical conditions, what we are knowing is the perfect imprint, the imprint of perfection within every cell of your being. Because here's the wonderful thing, you can take this to the bank, is when we're born, we are born, every cell within our being is born with that imprint of perfection in it. If we're not experiencing that perfection, it's just a matter of bringing it back up, revealing that imprint of perfection within every cell. When it comes to mental healing, I believe what we're revealing is the truth that we were born with, that we are love, that we are loved, that naked. And by the way, what other church can you hear a song about being naked and feel okay with it? That's right. But that's the nakedness of which we're born with, is love at the very core of our being. We are love. We are loved. We are lovable. That is the truth of who we are, and that is what gets to be revealed when we're going through a healing. Now, it is my pleasure, my honor, my privilege to speak. Once a year, we have a recovery weekend. We used to do a whole month of Recovery Wednesdays, and we shifted a couple of years ago to doing a Recovery Sunday. And it is always my joy to be able to speak on this day and speak both from my own experience and speak about how healing is revealing today. And why do we do it? It's because some are hurting in our community. Some are hurting from the separation from what we're born from that place of love. Things get in the way. In Jamie's song, he talked about the garbage that gets in the way. Things get in the way of us experiencing love at the deepest level. There's a separation that takes place. And what's interesting is there's a pain that comes with that separation from the love that we're meant to experience. And what starts so innocently as just wanting to soothe and comfort the pain of separation begins so innocently as I'm just going to use this thing outside of myself to soothe the pain. And then it evolves into an attachment. We're a little attached to this thing or that thing, or maybe it's a person or a place. And over time, the attachment might even evolve into an addiction. And how do you know it's an addiction? Is when the cure I have brought to soothe the pain of my discomfort, of my separation, is now the source of the pain. What I was using to comfort is now the source of the pain. That's why we do what we do each year at this time, is to offer hope, is to allow ourselves to see that there is absolutely something that can take place to assist us to move from the darkness to the light. When I was preparing my talk for today, I ran across this Bible quote. It's from Matthew chapter 6, and it resonates in my heart. Because when we have become so separated, whether it's you or someone in your family or someone you know, it's almost like a dark night of the soul. Well, this is what Matthew said. He said, "The eye is the lamp of the body. If therefore your eye be bright, your whole body is also lighted. If the light that is in you is in darkness, how much greater will be your darkness?" So often we hear this as the dark night of the soul. And as I was sharing with some after the last service, what we get to bring to our loved ones, our family members, our friends, is if they find themselves in the dark night of the soul, we get to throw down the rope of light and love to assist them to carry back into the light. Now for me, I often called this, what did I call it? Oh, the Old Thought Treadmill. I don't know about you all, but I was on this treadmill of using old thoughts. It might become familiar, we'll see if anyone resonates with this. But doing the same thing over and over again, thinking that this time you're going to get different results. Anybody ever done that? Yeah, I tested this theory for about 25 years. I thought that would be enough. Any good scientist does a lot of testing, so I'd like to think of myself as a scientist. I was out there and doing 500 tests on see if I could do the same thing over and over again and get a different result. I will confirm for you so that you don't have to do it yourself that no, it doesn't work. Actually complaining about your job, complaining about your ex-wife, ex-husband, ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, over and over again actually doesn't make them change nor you. I also tried that. So I've done a lot of this research just as a public service, really. So I just thought I'd help you out. You're welcome. Charles Fillmore, who was the founder, along with his wife, Myrtle Fillmore, the Unity Church of Christianity, wrote something that had I discovered it, 40-some years ago, it would have been very helpful, but of course I didn't. But that's why I'm sharing it with you now. He said that living old thoughts over and over again keeps the inlets for new thought closed. Living the old thoughts over and over again keeps the inlets for new thoughts closed. Never dawned on me. What I realized from my 25 years of research is that the actual surrender didn't happen until the cure that I was using to medicate the pain that I was experiencing had gotten painful enough to get my attention so that I could surrender. And I didn't hear these new thoughts in a church like this. I hadn't discovered it yet. I didn't find them in any church of religious science. You know where I found it? It was in a basement. It was kind of a dingy place. And it was this group of people who had come together. They happened to be in the same situation I was in. They decided that they'd had enough. They had done enough research, and they were ready to surrender. The pain was deep enough. So we would gather together in this basement, and we started to reveal the truth of who we were. Now, I had no idea that's what I was doing at the time. This was all new to me. All I knew is I was hurting so much, I was willing to do anything. That's a great place to be, by the way, if you're ready to change. And you know what? Unfortunately, a lot of us get there. But what I noticed is in those 12-step rooms, I started hearing my talk title tonight. And this is how I heard it, is that healing is revealing your truth. That it's about revealing who it is that you came here to be. I don't believe we came here to be the person who wakes up in the morning and wonders how they're going to screw up their life today. That's actually not what we do, is it? You don't wake up and do that. Well, I wonder how I can totally mess up my life today. I'll just do one of those things I've always done. That's not where we place our attention. Usually we just want to get out of the pain, but we haven't found out a way. So the pain is typically caused by a hurt that we have not resolved. Whenever I do research for a talk, I'm very willing to put anything in Google and see what pops up. And, you have to be discriminatory, choose what you want, right, and leave the rest. Well, I found this from a fellow minister. Not a typical source that I would go for metaphysical information. I was so delighted to hear it. And it was from a pastor that you will recognize, and that is Rick Warren, the pastor of Saddleback Church, who wrote The Purpose-Driven Life, The Purpose-Driven Church. And he had written this just 8 days ago. He apparently was getting ready to do a talk on healing is revealing. This is what he said. He said, the start of any healing in your life is revealing and releasing your hurt. Now, where does the hurt come from? A lot of different places, a lot of different places. I mentioned that we are born as love, that we are loved and we are lovable, and somewhere along the line, some other message gets in. You know these messages, I think. The ones that say I'm not enough, or I'll never be enough, or I'll never amount to anything, that you're not okay. Still one of my favorite plays, which I think would fit on this platform here just perfectly, was back in the 70s when I was in the I'm okay, you're okay vein. And this particular play, I loved it. It was called I'm okay, you're a jerk. See, I was still in that mode that somehow the real healing was going to happen if I could somehow convince you that you needed to be healed. And then I'd be all right. But as we find out, right, that separation that occurs, that hurt, that pain, is something to be revealed for me to look at. Reverend Warren goes on. He says, if you want to get over your emotional hurts, instead of just getting comfort from the pain, you may have to share them with somebody. It helps to find someone to share with. That's what I found in that basement. I just found a bunch of people that were willing to listen, to be there, to be supportive. What I have discovered over the many years of my own recovery path, which, by the way, 10 days ago was 19 years of sobriety. You know, the days just add up. When I go speak at treatment centers, I often tell the people there that I used to do these things and now I do these things. And they always go, how'd you get from here to there? And I said, one day at a time was a little too long for me. I had to narrow it down a little bit. So I had to take it on one thought at a time. And that's my encouragement for all of us, is if we want to transform our life, we need to pay attention to every thought, every attitude, every belief. Those are the things that can get in our way, and those are the things that can lift us up. So it's one thought at a time. So what is it in your life that you're pretending not to know about yourself? What is the truth that is wanting to reveal itself for you? It doesn't have to be an attachment or an addiction. It can be anything. What is in the way of you receiving more love? I want you to know that I had no idea that I would be a minister. I thought I was always going to be this other person that was doing these tests over and over and over again for 25 years. I had no idea there was more. So what is it that's seeking to be expressed through you? That something is in the way. What he said is the first step in healing and revealing your truth is to face it. He says maybe you're trying to bury your past, but it keeps resurrecting itself. There may be triggers everywhere that just keep the memory alive. For those of you who have been in a lot of different relationships and you notice that every relationship reminds you of the last one, you know what I discovered when that sudden realization came to me? Was I was the only common element. That's a stunning realization, isn't it? Yes, indeed. See, he goes on to say, often our past keeps popping up because we haven't dealt with it. He says instead of burying the past, we often need to complete the past so we can move on to the present. Where you've been doesn't matter nearly as much as the direction you're going in today. I thought, Pastor Warren, we are on the same page. Releasing that which no longer works for us. Who cares if you've done 25 years of research on something? You know what? If it ain't working, it might be time to let it go. That's the way I look at it today. So if any of this resonates for you, or maybe a family member or a friend who hasn't released that which is in their way yet, whatever that might be, I have so much compassion for how this looks and how it shows up. My heart is wide open, no judgment. I totally get that we start by trying to comfort pain, and somewhere along the line, it becomes unmanageable. It was not our intention. It isn't what we want. I know what we want is love. So if this is so for you today, and I encourage you to step out of isolation, to realize that there are a lot of us around, and that we are the carriers of light and of love, and we're ready to throw the rope to you and bring you back into our community. So there's a lot of different ways that this can look. I invite you to reach out to we ministers, the practitioners, our prayer and care center, and across the way they're over in the community center today as part of our Recovery Sunday. We have 20 groups of people, different treatment centers, who are there to answer questions, be of assistance, be there to provide the community so that we can break out of the isolation. Addiction loves to be isolated. It hates the light of day. There's nothing like saying something out loud in front of a lot of people to realize, I wonder if that was the truth. So healing is beginning by revealing your truth. The second aspect of healing that I want to speak to this morning is that healing is